everybody, and welcome back to the first Novel Noms of 2012!
From classics to children's books, you never know what she's gonna cook when Gretchen makes Novel Noms.
So, welcome back. I've missed you. I hope you had a good holiday. I wanted to do a book today that means a lot to me, that I have read years ago, and I love this copy because it's the one I used in college, and it's got all my notes and marks in it and things when I was really, really smart. It's Pilgrim at Tinker Creek by Annie Dillard, and it's kind of like a, I don't want to say a prose poem because people get freaked out if they don't like poetry. It's just a beautifully written story about her interaction with nature and her experience with the natural world, but also just the world around her in general. It's just so beautiful. And I picked it because I've been reading a lot lately about how food is processed, and heard some stories on the radio about different things with genetically manufactured foods, and it just really makes me want to go back to nature and start picking things and shopping places where I know I'm not going to get food that didn't exist without the help of a scientist. So I wanted to do a Novel Noms that was dedicated to Annie and Pilgrim at Tinker Creek, and the beautiful way that she sees the natural world, and make something that is totally from scratch, totally good for you, totally delicious. So I want to read you a short excerpt. She says, "I am no scientist. I explore the neighborhood. An infant who has just learned to hold his head up has a frank and forthright way of gazing about him in bewilderment. He hasn't the faintest clue where he is, and he aims to learn. In a couple of years, what he will have learned instead is how to fake it. He'll have the cocksure air of a squatter who has come to feel he owns the place. Some unwanted, taught pride diverts us from our original intent, which is to explore the neighborhood, view the landscape, discover at least where it is that we have been startlingly set down if we can't learn why." And I just think that this is all about. I'm going to make a breakfast, because people have been asking me for breakfast ideas. I'm going to make a breakfast tostada with homemade ricotta cheese and homemade blackberry radish jam. Oh my Jesus. Blackberries, again, because of the whole natural world angle, and because behind the house is where the area where I used to live growing up, there were these blackberry bushes where we just pick them until we just could not eat anymore. Deliciousness. First thing we're going to do is I have corn tortillas. You could use bread instead. You could use flour tortillas instead. I'm gluten-free, so I'm going to be using corn tortillas. And all I'm going to do is something very simple. I'm just going to put a little bit of olive oil on each tortilla, just a little tiny bit, and rub it in. And then what I usually do to kind of distribute it is I'll turn them over and kind of go like this, because it coats it, and you always have a little bit of extra oil. Kind of makes it go a little further. You're going to have oily hands. That's it. I'm going to put those on a baking sheet. And if you want to make these super sweet, if you want the whole thing to be sweet, you could put some cinnamon sugar on there. You could put some salt if you like the salt-sweet combo thing. I'm just going to put a little bit of salt because that's my favorite. Just a little bit of salt. And essentially what we're doing is making giant tortilla chips. So I'm just have my oven at 425, and I'm going to put those in there until they're a little brown and crispy. Now, the ricotta cheese. This is something, it takes about 45 minutes to make. It is super simple. If you didn't watch my Christmas video that I made about my Christmas lasagna, go watch that. I'll put the link down below. But I made homemade ricotta cheese. All this is milk with a little bit of vinegar in there. And I'm going to put the instructions for that right here. In a heavy bottom pot, pour in about a gallon of whole milk. And you're also going to add 3 tablespoons of white vinegar. Stir it up, and you're going to take a spatula and just work it around the bottom of the pot over medium heat. You want to make sure that the milk doesn't burn or scald. And you're just going to keep stirring it and keep stirring it. And you'll see little bubbles start to form. After about 20 minutes, you'll see that you've got little curds of cheese forming at the top of the milk. You're going to keep scraping until you notice that the milk has separated so that you've got curds at the top and you've got like a different colored liquid, which is considered the whey, down below. And then you're going to take it off the heat. Get a strainer and line it with either a clean dishcloth, cheesecloth, or you could even use coffee filters. And you're going to put just a 1 ladle at a time of the cheese mixture, moving it with the spatula to help it drain. And then you're just going to leave it in the sink to drain for about a half an hour until most of the liquid has drained out and all you have is cheese. So once you've got that made, I put it in this dish and I put it in my refrigerator and I leave it overnight if possible. You can use it right away, but I think it tastes better after it's been sitting and kind of getting even more. And it's the creamiest, most wonderful thing you've ever tasted. I hate store-bought ricotta unless it's like in something, but this by itself is so amazing. So we've got our ricotta. Next we're going to make the jam. And I chose to put radishes in this. My husband always rolls his eyes at me because I put weird things in things. But I think it's just an example of different things that you can try. You don't have to use radishes. You could put something. You don't have to put any kind of wackadoodle things in there. I had these left over from my bountiful baskets, from my co-op basket. So I wanted to use them up. And I thought radishes tend to have like a peppery flavor, kind of like a little bit of spicy. I thought it would be great with the sweet. Again, use what you have. You could, if you don't want to try this, you could substitute maybe an apple or pear or some kind of other fruit. Or you could feel adventurous and try my radish. Of that, I'm also going to start my pan heating up. And while that's heating up, I'm going to dice up some, not really fine, I just want to kind of chop them a little bit to get them started breaking down, my gorgeous blackberries. It's really just a way of thinking. Sometimes if you could just think of a way to replace some of the things you eat, like the processed stuff, with natural, whole food kind of things, it's just better for you all around. Okay, so my pan's heating up. I'm going to put about a tablespoon of butter in the bottom of my pan. Once that butter starts melting, I'm going to add to it my radish pieces because I want those to get cooked down a little bit and to have some of that warm, wonderful, buttery flavor kind of cooked into them. So I'm just coating everything in the butter. I'm going to actually put a little bit of shimmy shake of pepper and a little bit of salt. And I'm going to saute this for probably about 2 to 3 minutes until it just gets a little bit of caramelization on it. Alright, so you can see I have a little bit of caramelization on that. And I'm going to add to that the chopped berries. I'm also going to add a little bit of apple wine vinegar, little berry vinegar. You don't want to use that. You could use a little bit of juice, some orange juice or apple juice if you have it on hand. I like the acidity of the vinegar. I'm going to add just about a teaspoon of white sugar. You could use agave syrup. You could use honey. And I'm going to turn my heat down to about halfway, and I'm going to let that reduce and get thicker and delicious. Get all of those flavors together. This vinegar I actually bought at IKEA. It has lingonberries in it. It's delicious. If you didn't have this, you could use a little bit of red wine vinegar, or even some white vinegar would taste really good. I don't know that I would use a balsamic. It would take kind of like a little bit more harsh, but you could try it. Why not? careful, you don't want it to burn. The sugar will burn, so you want to make sure if it's still bubbling after you turn it down. Maybe you need to turn it down a little bit more. So we don't want it to be like insane. We just want it to percolate. Alright, ready to take our corn tortillas out of the oven. You can see that they're crispy. And I'm going to take my little preserves that I made here with the radishes and the berries. And I'm going to set that aside for a second. Let it cool down a little bit. Alright, and the last step is to make the egg. And it's really, really simple. I'm not going to add a ton of stuff to it. 1 egg. I'm going to blend it up. Of course, you could put more eggs if you want it to be a thicker egg layer. Put a little bit of butter in there. Okay. My egg should sizzle. Well, it probably could have been a little hotter, but I want it to coat the bottom of my pan. I'm going to give it a little bit of salt, pepper. It was a lot of years, like before I started really getting into cooking, that I pretty much cooked everything at a super high heat. And a lot of things burned. I wonder why. But here's the other secret. Not just does the knob go down, so you don't have to cook everything at a full high, but if it's starting to burn, pick it up off the heat. It'll still be cooking because the pan's still hot. Alright, so once it's still a little gooey on top, and yet it's kind of translucent and you can't see through it anymore, you're going to push it away from you and then bring it back. Shouldn't take long for the other side. Okay, I've got my crunchy little tortilla. I'm going to take a spatula, take some of that gorgeous, wonderful, homemade ricotta. Alright, and then I'm going to top that with my egg. It's a little bit bigger than my tortilla, but that's okay. A little bit more ricotta. And those preserves that we made, which are still hot. You could put them in the fridge and let them cool before you use it. That's delicious. Oh, you get the great berry flavor. We didn't buy it in a store. You get the homemade, the creaminess of the ricotta. You get kind of a little bit of the salty from the egg. That's really good. And it's really hard sometimes for gluten-free people or just people in general, or people in general who want to eat healthy, to find like healthy alternatives for breakfast. Hello. So go forth. Make wonderful, beautiful, simple, natural foods and eat them and be healthy and wonderful. Have a wonderful 2012. Go read Pilgrim at Tinker Creek by Annie Dillard. I'll put a link down below so you can go check it out. I love you. I will see you next week on Noms.